Hey Aishi, I think we are live now. We can take it from
Oh,
here.
yes, I think we are live, guys. So, welcome everybody to a very, very special uh, session, a webinar. And I think this lineup of people that we have wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for, the Women's Day. So, I think it was a great coming together for everybody from MBA and Beyond coming together and trying to see what best we can offer to the people who are really seeking so many with so many questions that you guys have actually lived through. So it's really, really wonderful to have everybody. Archana, Pratibha, Kirtana, thank you so much, guys, and for everybody who's joining us. So the agenda for today will be around some questions that, like I said, have been lived by the fantastic lineup that we have. It's about why and when you should go for an MBA. A very, very simple as a question, but yeah, lots to talk around here about scholarships and fellowships women can apply to, MBA from Europe versus US, applying to business schools with your partner, should you apply with or without a consultant? So we'll be talking about these questions, and we'll have opportunity to hear everybody. But first, I would like to introduce everybody. We have Kirtana, who's an incoming applicant for Fuqua, and she has lived through a lot of unconventional career and has been a fantastic. Her journey is unique as it is, and she'll be sharing a lot of deep insights about her journey. We have Pratibha, who's from oil and gas industry and has secured a position admit in Colombia with with us. And we have Archana, who's a military veteran, has served uh, for 11 years and is now an incoming applicant for Michigan Ross with GMAT waiver and scholarship. So welcome everybody. If I've missed few things, I think it's because I would like you to pass it on as we share and keep the suspense alive. So let's get rolling, and we'll start with the first and the foremost question of why and when should you go for an MBA so that's the starting point, and I would like Kirtana for you to throw some light.
Absolutely. Firstly, Aishu, thank you so much for introducing us, and it's been really pleasure to come onto this platform and share our journeys with the fellow applicants and fellow aspirants. Coming to the question, why and when, I think it's really personal. It depends from person to person. Uh, the reasons to do an MBA, I mean, there are vast. I mean, are you looking for a career change? Are you looking for a career different? Are you looking for geographical change? Are you looking for growth? Or are you simply looking for global exposure? For me, on a personal end, the reason to do an MBA was I felt that I've come to a position where I think my growth is not going at a way that I want it to go, and also my past 5 6 years of experience, I did not have an opportunity to interact with people on a very global scale, and I felt MBA is something that solves for me, and those were my reasons. And when again it's really very subjective, but I feel the sweet spot to apply for an MBA is, if you have 4 to 7 years of experience, I think that's a great time to apply. But again, it really depends on the person to person. I think Archana can talk lot more about, like applying MBA after 11 years of experience. But yes, why and when totally depends on you.
Yeah, very, very, very rightly said. So and I will come to that of when was that moment. So maybe you guys can already start
Yeah.
storytelling of when was that moment where you actually switched gears and you thought, now I must
Yep.
apply, or start that process. So if anybody has that would like to, Archana, maybe you, and then
First of all, hi everyone, and I would definitely like to wish everybody a happy Women's Day. So happy that we could, gather around and talk about some journey that we all shared. So happy to be here, first of all. My igniting point was, I would say, I was a short service commissioned officer in Indian Air Force. So I was anyway about to roll off from service, and I was planning for a career as an entrepreneur. But then I realized I don't even have any kind of network or the basic business knowledge that I should have to do something on my own. So I really wanted to have strong foundation, business foundation. So that's a main reason I chose an MBA even after maybe 12 years of service. I know I get asked a lot about, you're about 30, you have the most experience, and I still chose to wear MBA over 1 year because I wanted to go through that entire process of, giving myself that adequate time to learn. You're going to a new country, so you need to know a lot of things. You should adjust yourself there, and you should know the culture, you should fit in, and then it takes time. And I didn't want to miss out those whole package thing, like internships, where I would be able to test the water whether this is some career that I want to go for or not, right? So that's another reason why I went for 2 year MBA. Yeah, like I said, my point was I wanted to switch over, and I wanted the knowledge and the network which would, help me grow my business.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rachana. Pratibha, how about you?
Thanks, Ayushi, and hey everyone. Happy Women's Day to everyone present over here. And for me personally, I think I have already known that I wanted to grow in my career as a leader in future. But that path was, I would be very honest, that path was not very clearly laid out for me. But then once the pandemic hit and everything came to the halt, and I think all of us got that space, to rethink and introspect where what we were doing and what was the next step in our career or personal lives. So I am really grateful. It's ironical to say that, but I'm grateful to have had that space where I thought it through, and I realized that if I have to move up that career ladder and become a leader in my future, I would need a transition right now. And I to do that, I'm really thankful that I took that step and started preparing for the GMAT. And then I was at the right time frame, I would say, because when I will be starting my MBA, I would be 4 years into the workspace. And as Kirthina said, 4 to 7 years of work experience really puts you in a very good sort of space and time frame. So yeah, that was 2020 was the time for me. I was 2 years into my professional career, and I realized that I should do something to lay out that path for my future.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, Pratibha. And I think writing also about this in your application becomes a very important element of writing about
Absolutely.
your goals and, making it
Yeah.
in the flow of why is it that you're applying for an MBA to justify that. So any
Yes.
any of you would like to share a little bit more about how that was a tough part of writing and framing your goals for the application, or was it super smooth?
I could talk about it. 5 to 6 years of my entire work experience was in a broad fields of marketing and sales, right? And that's the same field I wanted to be in. And in fact, it's my dream, to move into brand management of some of the top FMCG companies. But I know as an international student, as an international applicant, brand management roles are quite difficult for me to get. And I know when I mention that in my essays, in my goals, I know the chances of like me coming out of that cutoff is gonna be really challenging. So I did a little bit more searching. I reached out to people, spoke a lot more, read a lot about what are the different avenues for me to explore. Reached out to people, reached out to career centers, and it was a long, exhaustive process of 1.5 month. And then I realized, I would still like to continue marketing, but there are other avenues like product marketing, product management, which I could explore, where I could still, apply the things which I already know, and also, slowly move into a domain where I want to be. Yeah, I think, there are certain challenges. Things you want to actually do might be a little challenging, especially if you're an international student, but there are always workarounds for it.
Yeah, yeah, very rightly said, Keerthana. And I think it takes a while for that to sink in and put that across to figure that part out, right? And yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next important element. Like once you decide that you want to do an MBA, the next, I think, question that arises is how can I fund my own MBA and what are the opportunities? Are there any opportunities first, and how can I avail that? So, I know all of you have a lot of ideas about this. Perhaps we can start with Archana here, and we can move on from there.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this one. There are like multiple stages where you can think of funding your own. It starts from the application stage itself. Like I have known that there are multiple. Forte even has this MBA forum and MBA spotlight. There are many kind of MBA forums which happens around the globe. So even they're all virtual. You can start attending those. Your application fee is going to be waived. So that's the first step towards your journey. And once when you apply, most of the schools they don't ask for a separate application for scholarship or the financial aid. It's just you're automatically considered. And by end of it, there are multiple ways that they are supporting women, especially for example the Forte Fellowship. I'm sure even Kirtana also has been recognized as a Forte Fellow. Even I have been selected as a Forte Fellow for Michigan Ross. So that's something which is definitely a great help considering how we can fund our own MBA. And other than this Forte Fellowship, I would say there are multiple scholarships which are given by school specific again. For individual schools, they have specific scholarships which will support women coming from different backgrounds or just women for that matter. There are ones who are specific to women entrepreneur. There are ones who are coming from consulting field. There are one from healthcare industry. So you can definitely Google it. I think MBA and Beyond definitely did curate such a great list. I think we would be sharing it soon with all the participants. So you can definitely go through that list. That's a huge one. And this is during your journey with the business school. Once you are admitted, even if you don't secure any scholarship, it's still going to be okay because there are thousand other scholarship that you can apply independently on your own. That includes starting from the PEO International. That's for women who want to be in business. They definitely fund need basis again. And there's one more international scholarship for women, which is again country specific is for US. Any international woman who is trying to earn a degree in US, especially the master's one, they are giving out scholarships. So like this you have thousand others as well. You can definitely Google it. There are multiple forums which would give you such curated list. So even if we are not able to secure any scholarship, still there are ways you can fund, right? For again for internationals, there are multiple lenders. The ones that I know of, I can talk about like Prodigy and Empower Finance. They would definitely give scholarship to everybody, not just women, without any collateral, without any cosigner. So that's another a good thing I would say. You are eligible automatically based on your admission and the school ranking. So that's another great thing that you don't need to worry about. So I understand that 200K is not something which is a little amount, but it's totally doable. Like we all do it, and people have done it in the past, and I think it's going to be okay. So even at this stage, if you're still considering, there are multiple options to get scholarship for a current student. So the moment you enroll, you automatically are considered for as a MBA one and MBA two. You will be automatically considered by your school for your scholarships, which are specific to current students. That's something you should definitely dig through in the college website that you're looking for, right? And there are multiple ways you can support your education once when you're in school. Like there are multiple co-op. Every school has co-op with different companies, so you can start working as a kind of a part-time or something as an internship. So these are the ways we can you can definitely earn some additional funding which you can support your life in that different country. Yeah, that's what I could research during my journey.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, thank you, Arjun. I think it's a very important point that people are not, mostly aware about. Yeah, Kirtana, Pratibha, would you like to talk about this very important aspect? Yeah, Kirtana, maybe we can start with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Archana's done a really great job in terms of summarizing the different options and different avenues available for all the students. But let me look at it from a very different perspective. Even if you don't end up with any scholarships, even if you take an entire $200,000 of loan, here is a caveat, right? If you graduate from one of the top schools or some of the very good schools that US has for MBA, and then you have 3 years of additional, I would say, you can work with your visa for 3 years in US. And I think with the post MBA salary that you're gonna get, you can decently and very smoothly get over it. So while I understand, like 200K sounds very mammoth and very intimidating, but in reality, when you actually get into it and when you come onto the other side, you would feel that it's not as big as a risk as you thought it to be.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah. Pratibha, anything that you would like to add here?
Absolutely. I think I would agree with the two ladies. They have done a very good job summarizing everything. And, I have seen this hesitation, especially in the women applicants, about the funding and the scholarships. So I would only give my advice that you should not be fixating yourself on the scholarship criteria. Rather, just please go out and look at the return on your investment that you'll be getting through an MBA. And as Kirtana and Archana already pointed out, if you are studying in a very good institute and you are ending up with a well paying job, it's all going to work out at the end. The only thing is, you have taken this decision to advance in your career, and money and just the scholarship should not be something which should limit you from pursuing that. So that's my advice.
Yeah, thank you for saying that and wrapping this whole idea of women and MBA and funding. I think it's very very aligned and important aspect. And what Archana just shared, so everybody who's watching now can actually access the curated list that's by MBA and Beyond, the scholarships on for women, and you can access that by clicking on the link and sign up, and you'll receive the same. So it'll be rightly available to you in few minutes. So going forward, the next question, I think, is about, yeah, you want to do an MBA. Yeah, you definitely would figure out a funding part of it, but yeah, how is it that you make that choice and that initial that decision making of where is it that you would like to go? So Pratibha, how about we take start from you, and yeah, let's see,
Sure.
how did you make that decision?
Sure, sure. This question gets asked a lot. Even I had this question when I started it, and I stumbled upon it, and I did some deliberation. So I can share my 2 cents of advice on this. So the first thing that you need to consider while choosing from Europe versus the US is the geography that you would prefer to work in. So it all boils down to where do you want to stay and where do you want to work post your MBA, and that is one of the key deciding factors on where do you want to study. And another thing, once you have decided that, is to keep a reality check, obviously. So the profile of that individual who is applying versus the profile that the individual school seeks, how much do they resonate with each other, is a very important factor. So for example, in most of the European schools, I have seen that they prefer candidates with slightly higher number years of work experience because they are shorter in duration as compared to the US business schools. And for the younger candidates, like I was when I was applying, I ultimately came to the decision that the US schools would work the better for me. So that those are some of the key factors that you should be considering, like the geographical location and how much does your profile fit into the ask of that particular school. And yeah, it's all like these are the criteria that you should be looking after once deciding.
Yeah, totally, totally. They are very important factors to filter your decision, right? Actually, Kirtana, maybe something around your decision making. Kirtana, is it just
Sorry,
me?
yeah, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I knew since the beginning that US is a place where I want to go ahead and pursue my MBA for various factors. One is, of course, the I would say the kind of network that I would be having, especially considering my older network was a lot of them were already there in US, and then a part of my family was also in US. And so it became a straight away in a shortcut answer for me that this is a place that I want to go. And also another aspect which I wanted to consider was that, in case if I choose to come back to India, I wanted to have my degree from an institute which is recognized, at least I would say, uh, in a bigger larger segment of the Indian companies, which is why for me it was US. And also my dream was also to move into tech, and US is blooming in that particular segment. So yeah, that was why it was US for me.
Wonderful to know all the backstories behind your decision making, guys. Yeah, wonderful. Archana, how about you?
Yeah, I had a similar thought process behind it. One is US was the country where I wanted to probably have my short term career there because I was considering entrepreneurship back in India. So, and US was one of the countries where I was targeting as my, maybe my business reach once when I'm back to India. So I wanted to see how the country is, how, maybe learn a bit of market, how it's going to be, how I'm going to be successful if I'm targeting US as my business target. So multiple things again. My family is here, so maybe a bit of a support never hurts. That's another thing. And even if I end up in not going for my long term entrepreneurship thing, I wanted to make sure I want to be in a country, in a company which is probably recognized globally, and I wouldn't have much of an issue shifting back to India and continue in the same firm. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Although it's a majority is leaning towards US, but I think we do have this balanced ideas and factors of for decision making to understand where is it that I would like to see myself
Yeah.
and ultimately my goals and where do I want to live ultimately, or come back is easier. Coming back is easier. So yeah, thanks guys. I think this was interesting. Coming to the important question of, once I decide that this is what I'm going to do, is it really necessary? And I'm asking from a space of real deep dilemma about, is it that we really need a consultant for MBA application, and what is your experience been like? And maybe coming to the next question a little bit later. So Kirtana, maybe you can start here.
Absolutely, sure. Uh, Speaking from a very personal experience, right? When I decided that I want to pursue, I want to go ahead for my MBA, I was not very confident, to be really honest. Although I knew for a fact that I had a decent profile, but there were so many inspiring people, so many talented people, super competitive space out there. And then I always used to benchmark and compare myself, and I was like, can I really make it to the school? Do I have a chance? These were the constant questions, right? And I knew that I wanted someone who, no, I mean, I was looking for someone who's not just a consultant but a teammate for me, who would support me, who would motivate me, and then also have a guided approach, because every school looks out for its unique set of values and qualities in a person, and that varies and becomes overwhelming at times. So for me, I realized, the most important aspect for me to, the reason for me to have a consultant was basically having someone who could, like, help me reach where I want to. And I'm really glad that I found someone like that.
This totally understandable, Kirtana. The
Yeah.
questions and the figuring out part. How about you, Pratibha? How was that?
Yeah, so for me, I was really after I had my GMAT score and I decided to, just get started with the application. I took a look at the entire application process to understand how much really did I need a help in that entire thing. And once I did take a look and I read a lot of blogs and everything, so I realized that the process in itself was something for which I needed some guidance, because as you said, the goal itself is a very huge part of your entire application, and if you do not have that right, then anything else that you put in your application does not matter. So for that and that reason itself, I decided to seek help. And once I started speaking to consultants, because we most of them have this nature that they would provide you with a free call wherein they would assess your profile and advise you. So on those calls themselves, I got a lot of clarity onto how should I approach. So that was a deciding factor for me. And as Kirtana said, having somebody to have your back and boost you up with confidence, because there were definitely hands down moments when I realized that I am not going to make it. And but yes, at the end of the round one results, when I had not just one but a few schools in my bag, it was really came out to be a good decision. So I think having that reality check and deciding for yourself is a very important thing to do. And that's how you can decide, do you need a consultant or not.
Yeah, in fact, that just reminds me that all of you didn't get just one. You got, I think, multiple admits. That's a common theme for all of you. So kudos. Archana, how about you? That whole process of deciding, especially with the background that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if answering for a common question, it's not mandatory that everybody should go for consultant. Again, it's a personal thing. I thought that I'm a very sorted person. I am a sorted person, but then when it comes to business school application, especially the US application, they're very unique and weird at the same time, which we don't generally go through as an international. Because back in India, I never had to go through such an elaborate process when I did my undergrad, probably. So this is more of a journey than just an application. So I knew what I have with me, what I have in my kitty, but probably I needed someone to tell me, where is the correct place where I should express those. I know someone to tell me whether I'm thinking right or is this the right way of approaching some particular process. So that's where I wanted to go ahead with a consultant. Yeah, but it's not like mandatory. Everybody should. It's totally a personal choice. And where you are at your preparation, that is very important. If you are done with everything, if you have like a lot of time, if you want to try it once, you can totally do it. But it depends. It totally depends on your progress.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's totally a fair, answer and approach. Okay, so and what is it that you should, in case if you decide to have a consultant, are there any um, attributes that you really look? I mean, what you guys look for in a consultant to make that call?
Yeah, I'll go for that first because I had a couple of free evaluation calls with multiple consultants. So the few things which made me decide to go or no go for that was, one was the authenticity of the application. Whenever I try to reach out to someone, they used to come up with stories which is not necessarily true about me. Maybe they wanted the application to be successful, so they told me to write few things, which is like kind of a flip and spinning it around. That's something which I did not want to do. It. I wanted my application to be, as a expression of my authentic self. I didn't want, of course, nobody wants to end up as an imposter in any business school, right? Because if you write something else, that's what you are going to be. And that's something, and bringing the best out of your own values, that's something which should be a job of a consultant. Because end of the day, consultant is going to tell you and guide you through your journey. They cannot write a story for you, and that they should not, honestly. So if somebody is writing for you, then that's definitely a wrong place you are in. So that's why I probably went with MBA and Beyond, because I was able to stick to my story. I was able to bring out my best self rather than trying to go around things. So if I'm accepted, I'm accepted for what I am. That's all I wanted. Right.
All right. Yeah. Anybody else of how is it that you were looking at testing the consultants and the keys that you were looking at for a consultant to be a partner in your journey? Pratibha?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I was looking for a consultant, even I had quite a bunch of the free evaluation calls. And one thing that I assessed was that how much that person who was on the other end of the call was going to devote his time to me. And there is a thing that you can obviously assess when the other person is talking to you, as to how much are they considering it to be a business versus how much they are considering it to be their own investment. So wherever I got that feeling of the other person being invested in my application, I realized that that was a good space for me to be in, because then we were in that together, and we could realistically bring out these stories and work around on that, rather than by being stuck to a certain number of revisions to your essay, or a certain number of revision to your CV. So that did not I did not want that to be a constraint when I worked with a consultant. So yes, that was a very important factor for me, in fact.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that point out, because the element of connection and the story and narrative and how are we working together are very, very important ones. Yeah. Kirtana, something. Thank you,
Yeah,
Pratibha.
I think Archana and Pratibha have more or less covered the different aspects of how to choose a consultant. In my case, I had an entire Excel sheet created. It was almost like I was doing a telecalling. Hello, I am available for free consultation. Could you please evaluate me? It was like that for me. But I think over a month, it took me almost, yeah, over a month. I was exploring various options, and I found a lot of them were extremely, I would say, they're straight away rejecting me in case of saying, like, you should not apply to top 25 schools, you should not apply to top 30 schools. Why don't you apply for 20, 30 to 50? Because for them it's important to play safe and ensure that I get some admit, even though that's not the place where I want to be. And then there was another set of people who are like, you should straight away apply to top three schools. Do not even like bother about applying other schools, because again they are after my money. When I was looking for a consultant, I was looking for someone who's honest, someone who would assess me not just on the quantitative aspects of my profile, but also on the qualitative aspects of my profile. Would actually care to listen to my story, why I want to do what I want to do, and how. So yeah, that those were my parameters for shortlisting a consultant.
Yeah, I have something to share. Just like Kirtana, even I was rejected by consultants few times. Yeah, I my journey to business school stopped with the consultant itself. I didn't even get to apply, so that was funny because I was applying with the GMAT waiver. For my personal reason, I couldn't take the test, so they told me, no, don't apply. It's not going to be successful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very important. And I think GMAT waiver, like just because you mentioned it, I think it's an important element sometimes we miss. So I'm just referring to that aspect. And nice knowing again the backstories. I think there were a few things that I didn't know. So thanks for the Excel sheet, Kisana. Maybe that's something fun to look at later on. Wonderful. Okay, thank you guys for this one. Moving on. When is the right time to start my application process? Once I decide a consultant, is there a particular time that I should look at? How should I plan the year or the months to come? So I think, Pratibha, you have a lot of insights on this. Maybe we can start with you.
Sure, why not? So, the right time to start your application process is when you feel ready. First thing, it's very important to not rush through the process, because there are, you would come across people who would tell you that X month or X time of the year is the time when you should stop everything and start preparing for that application. But let me tell you, it's not like that. Once you are satisfied with your test score that you need to obviously go with in your application, and you are totally beyond that, then it is the right time for you to start your application process. And having said that, if you are done with your test score, you have sorted that out, then starts the process of considering the round of application. So a few people are very fixated on the round one or the early action rounds, and they are in fact advantages for your application if you are ready by that point of time. So if you have everything sorted, then early action or early decision rounds, which a couple of schools in the US that I can remember right now, like Columbia Business School, Darden, Fuqua, these schools provide you with an option to apply early, and in most of the cases you would get to know your decision early. So that is a very good time frame to apply in, if you have all the materials ready. And because you can get done with the process very early, and you can be relaxed for the rest of the year. And b, if it does not work out, unfortunately, then I know some people, for my reference, for whom the early action did not work out, but since they got their decision in time, in the right time frame, they had that time to reflect upon the mistakes, and then correct that mistake for the round one applications, because they had that time left. So early action provides you with a lot of advantages to apply in. And but if you feel that you have a few elements missing for early action, or round one for that matter, I would advise you to just take that time. If you have a promotion due, if you think that you can do better in your test, then please take that time and get done with that. And afterwards, when you feel that all the elements are ready, you can start putting together your stories and building an application. Because and then apply in the right round, and have that success, rather than hitting an trial and error process.
I hope everybody's who's listening to you is taking notes, because they are very important points to take a call. Absolutely. Kirtana, something, or Archana, something to Kirtana. Maybe we can start with you, and then yeah.
Absolutely. I think Pratibha has, I think given almost, I think 95% to 100% of the information, the right way to actually, when should you apply. I also maybe, some of the personal things that from my experience I could talk about was that I was in fact, start trying to apply for in 2020, but I knew for a fact that there were certain aspects of my application which were not ready, because I knew I was due for a promotion in the next 6 months. And I knew that, my application would hold a greater value if I wait for another year and apply. So if you have certain, I would say, certain events in your professional life or personal life that would add a great value to your application, maybe it is worth waiting for those extra couple of months. And then, of course, it is very important for you to actually be ready with the GMAT, with the different stories. I mean, more often than not, we overestimate that, it's just writing 300 words. It's just gonna get over in like maybe 1 or 2 days. But that's really not the case, because actually putting down your story on paper and ensuring that it conveys the right content to the outcome or the person who's reading takes a lot of time, and we more often than not miss it. So yeah, again, I think I just reiterate what Pratibha said. The right time to apply is when you're ready.
Yeah, totally, totally. That's totally in alignment with that. Archana, how about you?
Yeah, I think I would have the entirely different story to talk about. There is no right time or wrong time, as long as you know what you want out of your career and what you want in your life. Like I have 12 years of experience, but that did not stop me from applying. So if someone has like 3 years of experience, it should not stop them, as long as you know why you want to do an MBA and what are you expecting out of it, right? So I'm just looking at it in a different perspective altogether. So if you know what you want, just start right away for the preparation at least. And from my personal example, I would say when not to apply, I had about 45 days when I approached my application journey. That's not something I would recommend even to anybody. So that was really really hard to pull, especially considering that everybody are employed and they would be working. They have to juggle their personal life, their work, and application. It's not really easy. So never try to pull applications towards the long, the last bit of the deadline. Don't put yourself through that situation like I did. So if you have time, once when you're sure, you start your journey well in time, right? Because it's a journey. I say it's a journey, it's not a process. It takes every bit of your dedication to explore yourself and align yourself with the application process. It takes time, so start as soon as you're clear.
Wonderful, and thanks for bringing such a polarity in the answers, because I'm sure everybody is on different, places in their decision making. So thanks, guys. All right, moving on. It's this is a very very important question that we get asked a lot: applying to business schools with your partner. And let me tell you that we have a lot of applicants who ask us, and we have a lot of applicants who are applying. So if you want to know more about this, please get in touch with our schedule a call and get in touch, because we have a lot to share around this. And it again will be a very subjective thing, but it is possible. That's something that I would like to share here. All right, so going forward, uh, our process, which is something that I would like Paridhi from our team to share.
All right. Thank you, Ayushi, and thanks, guys, for such a wonderful and insightful session. I was in awe while all of you were talking, and I don't want to use the word guys, like we always forget. Archana and I were talking the other day. Happy Women's Day to all of you. I'm so glad we are all coming together. All these women in business and beyond are coming together to do wonders to the world. I'll just introduce myself a little. I'm the co-founder of MBA and Beyond. I envision to empower women and men to make this world a better place by going to a business school, of course, and launching businesses that are actually solving real world problems. So that's where the journey does not just end at going to a business school. It has to start from going to a business school. And that's where MBA and Beyond plays a pivotal role in your lives to help you go to a business school with a purpose. For me, I'm a huge advocate of women empowerment and generation equality. I do run a little activity of my own on the side that's called Digital Nari, where I try to empower women to become financially independent by training them on digital entrepreneurship or digital marketing, etc. So anybody who's interested in supporting the cause is welcome today here to get in touch with me at any point in time outside of MBA and Beyond. But yes, now getting on to the process. The process, coming back to what these girls have been talking about, it's not easy, and it does not just take 2 days to write a narrative, direct your story, and present it to a business school. It's a long haul game. And might I tell you, I keep repeating this over and over again each time I speak to applicants. It's important for you to know your MBA pitch. Unless you know that, there is no way you're going to pull off a great application or a great essay. When I say an MBA pitch, it's important for you to understand why do you need to go for an MBA? What are your goals? How are these goals connected to your existing experience that you've had? And how do you bring uniqueness and a differentiator factor in your profile if you belong to an overrepresented pool? If you have this pitch sorted, your writing essays is going to become a piece of cake. What applicants don't realize is that having this pitch ready is a different ball game altogether. You need somebody to hold your hand. It could be your friend, it could be your mentor, it could be a consultant, it could be somebody who's really asking you the right questions. And that's where our process comes into picture. Our process is broken down into three phases that I call. First one is content gathering phase, and this is the most critical phase. We also like to call it a mirror phase because it shows you exactly the person that you are, brings it to light, explains all that person that you will bring to paper in your application. So this content gathering phase will be broken down into three sets. Set one revolves around very high level questions around core and fundamentals of any business school, no matter what business school you're applying to. So even if you're confused and you don't know what schools you want to go for, it's okay. You can really take this plunge and start writing and follow the frameworks that we have, which have been carefully curated by the consultants who are grads of top business schools. Our founder is an alum of INSEAD, and INSEAD is a heavy application. So everything that you see and everything that you're going to answer there is going to encapsulate everything that any business school will ask. At the end of it, you will have collated, or you would have combined all the answers to questions like why MBA, your goals, your vision, your mission, what's the trajectory that you want to pursue, and how is it connected with the evidences that you hold strong that will make your application a really, really strong application in an overrepresented pool. So once you have this set one through, you would have good clarity. Of course, they will look like pieces of puzzles together, not making any sense at the moment, but later you'll realize how they're going to be put together to frame a very differentiating story for yourself. Then we move on to set two. This is a little quirky step. Some people even find it intimidating, but let me tell you why do we do what we do. So we as consultants spend time with admissions directors of top 10 business schools every year just to understand what's the flavor of the year, what are they really looking for in the next cohort that they're going to seek
who are going to join them in the next batch every year. And there are some flavors that keep changing. So, for example, this year, healthcare was the biggest flavor of the year for business schools. I mean, clearly because we were living through a pandemic and they are looking for more business leaders who are coming from this sector. Another aspect of it is a psychographic aspect. They have a bunch of psychologists sitting on the other side of the table who are reading your application. And these psychologists, they have a knack of identifying self biases in your application. Now, when I say self biases, they can clearly see through that. When you're talking about your strengths, you have a lot of examples to support your strengths. But when you talk about your weaknesses, you don't have so many. And it's just natural because we're Homo sapiens, we're trying to defend ourselves. We don't know how to talk about your failures versus achievements and strengths versus weaknesses. So it's important that you bring out yourself self bias free in your application, because business schools are expecting you to be fairly more neutral than an individual on an average. So you have to present yourself a fairly more neutral to be business leader globally. For that, we as your facilitator, we feel that we need to understand you holistically from a third person perspective. How do we do that? We ask you to choose three really important people in your life: one personal, one professional, and the third one could be either on your personality, on your strengths, on your weaknesses from them. Some of our applicants have played this very smart. They try to get the recommenders on these three people list already. So if you have a good relationship with them, of course, so kind of you already know what your recommender is going to be talking about if you get them to answer. So we, of course, use this to your advantage to make your application self-bias free, so that its readability is very, very neutral, that business schools expect you to bring to the table. Then we move on to set three. By the way, guys, it's still content gathering phase or the mirror phase, so to say. We move on to set three. This is purely based on the fact that we from India, most of us are sitting over here are from India. We belong to different age groups and we are an overrepresented pool. Let's just confess and accept that. There is no way that we're going to stand out if we just bring out our professional journeys on our application, because our resumes have sufficiently talked about our professional journey and we know it's very similar to somebody who's sitting next to you taking that GMAT exam or a GRE exam when you went for it. So it's important for you to find your differentiator, and the easiest way to find a differentiator is via your personality. So in this set, we are going to put you through a personality test, and based on the results of the test, we are going to define the traits that become the backbone of your application, and everything else that you've done in your life is going to hang around it as a supporting piece of evidence. Now, once all of this is through, your consultant is going to come in, go through all the content that you've gathered, and prepare a one pager, very beautiful branding document for you. This is your MBA pitch. It has your high level storyline, your strategy, your theme, and your direction. You take this piece of paper, get into a zone where you're brainstorming with your consultant and finalize the schools that you should really go for if you're not sure of the schools that you really want to go for. Why now and why not earlier? Because by having gathered your stories, you can clearly see through which values of different business schools do you match the most. One aspect that applicants really let go of, or they don't pay so much attention to, that beyond the scores, business schools are looking for values. If you match their values, even if you're a low GMAT scorer, it's quite possible to make it to any school that you're targeting. So you have to see how well is your story resonating with the values of different business schools. Once this branding is done and once we pick the schools, then of course we move on to helping you with your essays. We are going to hold your hand. You're going to get unlimited iterations, and you're going to get into unlimited brainstorming calls with your consultant. Your consultant, by the way, is an alum or an accepted candidate at a top business school with scholarships. Might I tell you, while I'm talking about consultants, we just don't work on a Word document, because we believe in a one-on-one brainstorming, how that does wonders to our applications beyond just iterating on a Word document via commenting. That's one. Second, MBA and Beyond is here to build a huge community. And how we do that, all our consultants are, some percentage of them are our applicants who made it to top business schools with 150, 70% scholarships, and they just didn't get into one school, but they got into multiple schools. These kind of candidates, they bring immense insights into helping other candidates make it to top business schools with scholarships. So you see Archana over here. She's our entrepreneur in residence. She was also an applicant who applied with us, and she's from Air Force. If you're looking to have your profile evaluated, go and have a conversation with her. She's going to give you the most honest feedback that you can ever expect from anybody. Kirtana, Pratibha over here that you see sitting and you've spoken to, they are our consultants and they're going to the best business schools in the world. It'll be interesting for you to have a conversation with them as well. So while we're talking about consultants, you are talking to gem of women sitting over here today. Feel free to take all the opportunity to ask all your questions. Towards the end, we're going to tackle them. Coming back to essays, once we're done with essays, we are going to help you with LORs. We don't help you write it, mind that. We help you identify the pointers that your business school referees should be focusing on. So the referee should be focusing on certain qualitative or quantitative, whatever evidence is, to support your story in a way that it makes your case stronger in front of the admissions committee. For that, it's important that everything goes hand in hand, your essay, your resume, and your LOR. So we are going to help you identify what those pointers are going to be. Then we also are going to help you with your resume. We have a dedicated session for you on that, video interviews. And finally, if you make it to the final round, your consultant is going to do a lot of mock sessions with you until you're confident enough to steer the gear in a direction that you want to drive the interview in. So that's the full process. Today, I'm aware that we have a bunch of women joining who have less than 3 years of experience. It's advisable that you don't look at MBA right now if you really want to go. I know some of you are also sitting in should be considering deferred MBA, or you should be considering MIM, Masters in Management. These are some good options that you can explore. If, of course, you have more than 3 years of experience, you can clearly go into and apply for MBA. So that's there. That's about the process. All the best to all of you and happy Women's Day once again. Thanks, Ayushi. Over to you. Back to you.
Thanks, Paridhi.
Mhm.
All right. So I guess you all already saw once, but we can probably share with you once again. You have, after hearing all the three speakers, you must have related to some of them, one of them at least. So you have a chance to get in touch with them for a one-on-one call, and also you can avail the scholarship document that we were talking about, the specially curated list for scholarship for women. So sign up right away or soon later, that you can get a chance to meet and ask all the questions you have. You'll get a chance to meet for 15 minutes for a one-on-one call. All right.
Perfect.
So
Thanks, Ayushi. We have a few questions, Ayushi, so we'll take them up.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take the first one up, and the next one is for Archana because that's for GMAT waiver. So I'll keep flashing as we go. This is, can you please share your thoughts on January intake terms and 1 year MBA programs? All right, Julie, that's a good question, and we get asked that a lot. So, a 2 year versus 1 year, the most important thing that I get to hear why people choose one over the other is because of the ROI. Second important reason is the number of years of experience that you've had. So if you've had a higher number of years of experience, which is more than, let's say, 6 or 7 or 8, it's highly likely that you may want to just invest 1 year, because it's also opportunity cost more than the money that you're going to be spending. So that's a second. If you're making a massive career switch, it's advisable that you go for a 2 year over a 1 year MBA, because you really want to immerse yourself in the program, get an understanding, or get yourself exposed to a brilliant internship, which will let you have an opportunity to switch that career and network around. Also, 1 year versus 2 year comes from the aspect when you're choosing Europe as a geography over US, because some of the top programs that you see in the European geography are 1 year programs. INSEAD is a 1 year program. IMD, HEC, LBS is a 16 months program, but most of them are less than 24 months for sure. So that's how I would suggest that you make a list of your pros and cons and things that are most important to you and pick one program over the other. So anybody else who wants to throw some light on this, Kirtana, Archana or Pratibha? Yeah.
Yeah, I can go on that. Considering that, like I mentioned already, I have 12 years, but still I went ahead with 2 years for a fact that what Paridhi, already shared. It's all about what you're expecting out of that 2 year. If you're someone who's coming from a very non-traditional business background, I would say, get the hang of everything and get the full package. It's always good to go for a 2 year rather than 1 year. Yeah, I think that would be great if you are coming from that particular background.
Yeah. All right, there's another question for you, Archana, at the bottom. Could the panel please share some insight on GMAT waiver for 2022 entries as well?
Uh, yeah, I applied with the GMAT waiver, so I can just share my personal experience. Um, Yeah, I applied in round one. So wherever I applied, I could get my waiver as well, and I was able to go ahead and apply for the business school application. So I wouldn't say that had any kind of a remark or a negative aspect to my application. Nowadays, I feel like business schools are also evolving beyond GMAT or GRE. So what they are trying to see is probably they are looking for global leaders who can create that impact. They're looking for some very matured professional who are ready to, who are bold and enough to take that risk that they want to switch their careers. So they're looking for a personality as a whole. And when they say holistic, you might have heard admissions committee keep repeating that we are looking at your application holistically, and I feel they really mean what they say because I could just vouch for it based on my personal experience. I could get through four top universities with the GMAT waiver because I never took the test. So yeah, it's a thing. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out for the next intake, how it's going to be for the next application cycle, but it did not bring anything, a different aspect to anybody's application.
Thanks, Archana. That was really good. I think that's all for the questions. Any other questions, anybody? All right, then I think we're good. So if you're looking for more information on scholarships, there's a link at the bottom. You guys can sign up and request. Also, if you're looking for a one-on-one with Archana, Ketan, or Pratibha, we are offering 5 people to speak to, have a really good one-on-one conversation about anything. It could be about business school or not for business school, or anything about you want to get inspired by their journeys. Please go ahead and send in your request, and we'll be happy to put you through. Thank you, everyone. Really good session. Thanks, Ayushi, for hosting it. It was really beautiful having you as a host. And thanks, guys, for joining, and Archana and Kirtan and Pratibha for insights that you shared today.
Yeah, thank you so much and wish you all a happy International Women's Day once again.
Happy International Women's Day. Yay.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
I take care.
Bye bye.